So I am completely blowing up and rebuilding my entire business. It's a little crazy, honestly. And I wanted to do a YouTube video about it and explain it to y'all, but I also want to do a podcast. So I'm doing both at the same time. So this is going to be very different from my normal like YouTube videos. It's just going to be the like real raw podcast episode recording, with video turned on. So like it's 8:45 in the morning and I put on makeup for y'all. So you should be very glad. But it's just going to kind of be me recording this podcast episode and explaining all of this. And so there's not going to be any fancy editing or anything like that, but hopefully you enjoy it because we've got a lot to talk about. Yeah. So I don't even know. I'll be honest. I don't even know really where to start. And this is an episode that is going to be pretty like raw and one of those things where I planned out notes and I know what I want to talk about, but I don't 100% know exactly where the direction will go. So I don't know. I'm excited about this, but also a little nervous and not 100% sure where this is going to go. So let's just start with kind of the background, how I got here, why we're doing this like blow up rebuild situation. And essentially, honestly, for a long time now, and I don't know, probably since 2020, I'd say since 2020 would be a really good marker, maybe 2021. I have been stuck between creator Jessica and business owner Jessica. So, those cartoons where like, there's like a devil on one side and an angel on the other, and they're trying to get the person in the middle to like listen to them, and the person in the middle is like, I don't know, who should I listen to? That's how I feel, except it's not a devil and an angel. It's a creator and a business owner. And you might argue that those are the same things. And I would also argue that, but what I mean is the way that a creator thinks about their business and the way a business owner thinks about their business are two different things. And I've seen that firsthand because I have like worked with creators. I've worked with business owners. I've done it all. I've been both. And so a creator is really thinking about their business from a standpoint of the art behind it, as far as like the content they create. So like, I'm going to create this piece of like really well-produced content or whatever. And then, I'm going to put it on the internet in whatever platform they choose to put it on. And I'm going to then monetize that with brand deals and affiliates and things like that. And so, that's kind of how the creator thinks. The business side comes second, and not even like comes second, but, it's just thought of in a different way. And then the business owner side is thinking about the business first with the content to support the business. And so I started this whole journey, right, with the content supporting the business. I started on YouTube to support my business. I started like doing any kind of content to support the business. I started doing any type of content to make the business what I wanted it to be the top of the funnel, to whatever. And so in 2020, YouTube was doing so good. I guess that's really kind of where this came from. YouTube was doing so good because everybody went home. Everybody was trying to make money from home. Everybody was like trying to figure out the things, And so, YouTube was very like lucrative, very good during this time frame. Brands were spending money. The advertising budgets of brands on YouTube were way higher because they knew everybody was watching YouTube, and YouTube itself was paying out way more, because of that. And so even in 2020, I believe 2020 was the year I hit 100,000 subscribers. So with half of the subscribers that I have now, is I have like 207,000 or something now, with half of them, I was making almost, let's say, triple the money just from YouTube. So, I've been really public about this because I shared it on my YouTube channel last year. But in 2020, I brought home over 80,000 doll hairs from YouTube AdSense alone. And YouTube AdSense has always been one of those income streams that I like, but I'm not going to count on because it's never consistent and I can't really control it, right? And so I brought home like 80 some thousand. I'm not going to look it up right now, but I've done videos on it. And so it was like 80 some $1,000 in 2020 just from AdSense. And last year in 2023, I think I brought home 30,000. And so, even with like way less subscribers, I was making way, 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 way more money on YouTube at the time. Brands were paying more. The creator economy was just kind of booming. And I was like, oh, this feels really good. And I don't know what about it felt good. I've tried to go back to that and be like, what exactly felt good? Like what about that was it? And maybe it was just new and interesting. And I was like wanting to ride that wave. And so I started taking on more brand deals and I started like really focusing on the content on YouTube as more like high level pieces of content, which they should be anyway, but I was thinking about my content in a different way, right? And I don't know a way to explain that other than the way I have explained it so far. And if you're coming from a creator space, I feel like you understand what I mean. So I started like really leaning into that in 2020. And then like, of course the bottom fell out of that, high essentially. And, things kind of went back to normal. But I've kind of rode this like teeter-tottery situation where it's like business owner, creator. And I don't fully know why. And I'm just being completely honest. I don't totally know why that's been the journey that I've been on the last few years, but it has been. And here we are. And essentially what I have found over the last year is I don't want to quote unquote just be a creator. And I'm not saying that's not a valid business choice. So I want to make that really clear. It absolutely is. You can be a creator and have a multiple 6-figure business, a 7-figure business, like whatever. Totally a viable path, right? But I feel like for me, the way that I would want to be a creator, I would have to incorporate a lot of my like real life stuff or vlog or, really make super artistic like pieces of content. And I don't like, that doesn't feel good to me. You know what I mean? And so for me, being the business owner, being the one who teaches people, being the one who is showing you how to do the things, whether you're a creator or a business owner, is really where I want to sit and really where I've always thrived, like always. Since I kind of started in the education space, several years after I started my business, I love it so much. I love teaching y'all things. I love you learning things. I love watching you learn things. I love watching my students and my clients learn things. I love creating courses, all the things. And it's really funny because we all have to build a business that fits into what we want, right? So y'all know my BFF, Jacqueline Malone, who I used to have a podcast with from 2015 to 2018. She and I are still BFFs. We don't talk as much as we used to, but I love her so much. But anyway, we have always really been so different on the way that we want to run a business. So I love the content side. I love creating content. I love recording podcasts. I love recording YouTube videos. I love doing Instagram. I just love to do that kind of thing. It's totally where I thrive. And I think that's a lot, just side note, I think that's a lot of the part where I get hung up is like, I love content so much. Maybe I should just focus on the content and let the brand deals come and stuff. And I think it's because I love content so much, but I can love content and it be worked into my education business, so anyway, just that was a sidebar, but I love creating content so much. I love, being in a place where I can create content, being in a place where that feels really good, you know? And I also love creating courses and creating digital products. These are fun for me. Y'all, creating new things like that, digital products, courses, like whatever, and then selling them and then building funnels to them and then like seeing my students get results from them. Oh my gosh. That's like, it's so good, right? And I hate having calls on my calendar. So for me, something like one-on-one coaching where I have to have calls all the time with people, or, some other type of business where I have to have calls all the time with people, or the type of business where I'm not creating content, it's just not going to work for me, right? But Jacqueline, on the other hand, and she would not mind me saying this because I'm sure she said it publicly 1,000 times, she does not mind calls on her calendar. She loves to talk on the phone. She is totally cool with it, right? And she does not want to create content, and she does not want to create courses. So like if you go find Jacqueline on the internet, no, you didn't. Like she's kind of disappeared for a while because she doesn't like having to create content, which is so funny because when we met, she taught Instagram. So I just think that's so funny. But, we all evolve, and I feel like we have to do things that we don't want to do to see that we don't want to do them. I wouldn't have known that I don't want a calendar full of calls unless I did it and I didn't like it, But my point here is we all like different things in business. And so because of that, we need to create the business that feels good to us, right? And what feels really good to me is creating courses and programs and things where I get to teach you how to run an education-based business and scale that and sell it and all the things, right? So like sell digital products and courses and really thrive in that arena. So that's where I've been the last few years, is just really like stuck between this like creator, business owner. And because I've been stuck, I haven't done the launches that I would have normally done. I haven't done the funnel building that I would have normally done and the funnel feeding that I would have normally done. I haven't like really focused on selling my stuff like I would have normally done pre-2020. And I have had moments of that. And it's usually come from, we need a cash injection. Let's do a launch of something or whatever. But I haven't really focused there. And so what's happened in the last little bit, and I'm just going to be as transparent as I know how to be, is that I still make pretty decent money on autopilot. And that's the goal and the dream, right? Is to build all of these things so that if you need to put your business on autopilot, you can. And that's essentially what I've done. But I still make pretty decent money on autopilot. I'm still bringing in enough to pay my full-time employees, pay myself, run the business that I want to run. But my income hasn't grown in the last few years. I haven't done my 2023 taxes. I got an extension, but if I had, I know that it's about the same as 2022, and 2024 is going to be about the same as both of those because I just haven't been focused on the growth, and I've been stuck in this like, and because of that, my income hasn't grown, and I want it to grow. I want to be able to pay my employees more. I want to be able to pay myself more. I have some personal things that I need, like bigger finances for, right? I have a piece of land that I bought, a piece of commercial property that I bought in our town that I want to put an office building on. And it's like, I don't really want to get a loan for that. I want to just cash flow it, because I hate the process of getting loans at banks. Like I hate it so much. So, I have some like big goals, and in order to hit those big goals, I'm going to have to make more money. And in order to make more money, I've got to remove things off autopilot. Like I have to be pushing the gas, I have to be moving forward. And, so much of the reason why things have been on autopilot and why I haven't grown much in the last few years. And now I say grown financially. I have grown when it comes to like followers. I've grown when it comes to like listeners on the podcast, but financially it's kind of all been the same. And one of the reasons, and I know the reason for this, is because I've been stuck between this creator business owner thing. You know, one month I'll be like, oh, let's take brand deals. Let's go work with all the brands. And then another month I'm like, I hate brand deals. I wish I never did them. Let's go launch something. And because of my lack of focus, everything kind of starts to be having to be put on autopilot because it's not going to work otherwise. And I have several episodes on the podcast and on YouTube of where I talk about focusing as a multi-passionate person, where I talk about, you know, not digging half-dug holes and things like that. If you've not heard that analogy, I definitely, I can kind of summarize it here. But essentially what that means is if someone came to you, like I'm looking out in my front yard right now, if someone came to you and knocked on your front door and was like, hey, I just buried $1 million at the bottom of 3 different holes, and I've even marked the holes for you. Like, there's a shovel, that's a hole. There's a shovel, that's a hole. There's a shovel, that's a hole. And your mission is in the next 60 minutes to dig up as much of it as you possibly can. And so you run out into the front yard and you pick up a shovel and you start digging, right? Like you start digging and you're digging and you're digging and you look at your watch and you're like, oh my gosh, it's already been 10 minutes. Maybe that hole over there, the $1 million is closer to the top. So you stop digging on the hole that you're digging on and you run over here and you dig because you think this one is going to be quicker or closer. And you dig for another 10 minutes. You're like, shit, I'm still not hitting this $1 million. And so you run to the third hole and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to try and dig this. And at the end of the 60 minutes, you've dug about, halfway or something on each of these holes and you have nothing to show for it. Whereas, let's say it takes 20 minutes to get to the $1 million in each of the holes. If you would have just dug to the bottom of hole 1 with 20 minutes, right? Then you could have hit the $1 million. You could have taken that $1 million and you could have paid somebody to dig another one of the holes while you dug the other hole. And you could have had all the $1 million, in every hole. So you could add 3 million when you came up with 0 million if you were just bouncing around from hole to hole. And that's exactly what a lack of focus in business is. It's like, first I'm over here, and then I'm over here, and then I'm over here, and now I'm over here. And you never truly get to the good part of the business or the money or the things because you're too bouncy, And so that's how I feel like I've been, And so for me, I really have to pull back on my own advice to say, I'm focusing on this particular path. Like I'm focusing on path A, and path B, if I want to do that, can wait. And my best advice here is to get an idea notebook. So back in 2015, at this point, I had been a web designer for like 5 years, but I'd also been a personal trainer. I'd also designed scrapbooking supplies. I had also done like blogging and like all of these different things. And in 2015, I was like, okay, I really need to focus, because then I had really big goals of buying my own land, or our own land, and building our own house. And I knew that if I didn't focus, it wasn't going to happen. And so what I did was I got a notebook and I was like, okay, I have a notebook here if you're listening to the podcast, because I'm recording this on video too. But, I was like, okay, goal. And it was like, okay, this is the structure of the business. But then if I had an idea, so like if I was like, oh, I really would like to, sell bananas to monkeys on the moon, I would be like, okay, that's a great business idea. I'm going to take 15 minutes to write it down in my idea notebook, but I'm not allowed to act on that right now. It just gets to be an idea. And I would set myself goals, like monetary goals usually, and say, when I hit that monetary goal, then I can go back to my idea notebook and pick up one of those ideas. And so, if one of the ideas, again, was like selling bananas to monkeys on the moon, I could go back to my idea notebook when I hit my financial goal of like, let's say I wanted to make $100,000 in a year or whatever. When I hit that, I could say, okay, all right, I get to go back to my idea notebook. Do I want to do any of these? And the true magic is that you don't usually end up wanting to do those things because you're like, wow, what I'm doing is working so well. And so like, why would I screw it up? And so for me, really taking my focus back and saying, I know what I'm focusing on. I know what I'm building. I know what I want to build. I know where I want this to go is what I'm doing here. And putting all of those other ideas, the like, oh, I want to make like beautiful, films and put them on YouTube, or, I would love to like do this thing and, whatever. It's just going to go on the back burner because that's not what it is. And what's really cool is it's okay to keep things for personal use and not have to do them for money or public. So for me, I do love a good storytelling piece of content by way of like video or photos or whatever. I love visual art, like totally. And, I get really distracted by that because it's like, okay, well, I could make these like beautiful, heart-wrenching, like blah, 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 and put them on the internet, but that feels too overwhelming to me. And once I make it a job, I don't like it anymore anyway. And so, in a few YouTube videos ago, I shared a clip of a video I did for my son's 6th grade graduation where I was like telling this like beautiful story. I wasn't just like videoing the graduation. I actually like made it into a story and how powerful and moving it is. And that's okay for that to stay personal. It's okay for me to make those movies or things for my family and that just to be a hobby and a thing I like to do and not be the business side, right? Because here's the thing. I turn into a teacher no matter where I go. So I would inevitably be like, you need to do this and you need to do this and here's how you do this and here's how this goes. And I'm not someone who's like super well versed in filmmaking or any of that. And so I don't feel equipped to even teach those things. So anywhoobs, I'm ready to focus. I'm ready to stop digging half-dug holes. I'm ready to like truly say, this is my goal and I'm not wavering from that. And, y'all, it has been a long time since I sat down and planned out my week. And that sounds insane, but I've just been flying by the seat of my pants for no reason. Like the thing is, being able to put your business on autopilot is amazing. It is spectacular. It is the goal, right? And it's one of the things that I love to teach. But it should be reserved for the times when you need it on autopilot, not just because you're like, meh, feels right. Like there are people every day who, need to put their business on autopilot because something happens, in some way, shape, or form. They have a baby, they go on vacation, they have their kids at home for the summer, like things like that. But I was just doing it just because. And as part of like putting my business on autopilot, I wasn't like planning out my week. I literally was like, I'll film a YouTube video today. I'll film some podcast episodes today. I'll write an email. And I wasn't getting hardly anything done. And I was getting the things I set out to get done, but I wasn't getting anything done, like no needle moving activity. And this week I was like, okay, we're getting back to this, right? Like we're getting back to everything I want to do here. And I made a list of everything I made a list of everything that needs to be done as a whole to really rebuild the business, in the way I want to. But then I broke that down into what is the first step? What is the second step? What do I need done now? Blah, blah, blah. And I planned out my week. And now it is summer. So I have my kids home full time with me. Now, my kids are older too. I have an almost 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. And so it's not as like, I have to take care of every like thing that they need, a lot of times I'm like, get yourself some lunch. Here's what's available to you. But the problem this summer specifically is that we have so much going on. My oldest son is playing football and basketball, and he's going into the high school. And so at the high school, they have all these like summer workouts that are like 3 days a week. And like, some of them are 6:30 in the morning, and I don't know who planned that out, but it wasn't me. Thankfully, I have a husband who helps very much so. We kind of tag team the efforts, but we have a lot going on during the day of the evenings. Like I was at a baseball game for 8 hours. It wasn't 8 hours. It was 3 hours. It didn't end until 8 something last night, but we were there forever. And it's just unpredictable, And so summer is generally a time when I have to have a more flexible schedule. And even with that flexible schedule, I sat down Sunday and I was like, I'm going to plan out my week. And in planning out the week, again, based off of my long-term goals, blowing up the business, rebuilding it, all the things, I planned out my week. And I am it is 9:15 a.m. when I'm recording this. And I will be done with today's to-do list on Tuesday by 11 a.m. Now, I did get started early this morning because the kid had to be somewhere really early, so I was up anyway. But it's obviously I can get more done in a week than I think I can. And not to say I want to push my limits with how much I'm getting done or just only grind. But I was doing none of that or none of it, y'all. None of it. So to kind of not wrap it up in a bow, but kind of wrap it up in a bow, I wanted to bring you into what the new direction is, what I'm rebuilding for, what all of this looks like. And like I say, I love talking to entrepreneurs and teaching how to create these education-based businesses with digital products and courses, and then using those to scale to whatever your goal number is, And I don't know, it's funny because I've kept one foot in that the whole time, right? I have Digi Product School, which is going to teach you how to create digital products. I have Course Academy, which is going to teach you how to create courses. But that's kind of where it's landed. Because again, I've been so on the fence. It's okay, well, is the next right move to then teach you how to edit in iMovie so you can use YouTube? I just wasn't focused. I had no real big structured goals. I had no real big picture idea of where I wanted everything to go. And so it just kind of muddled together, So now I'm moving in this direction of really focusing on those of you who want to create education-based businesses and then scale that. So whether that's digital products or courses, whether you've already started that, whether you've not, whether you already have a business or you don't, that's where I'm coming in. And I'm really changing my offerings to fit into a value ladder instead of just having this smattering of courses everywhere, because that's what I have right now. And I'm going to talk about value ladders next week on the podcast, but essentially what a value ladder is okay, if someone comes in at the top level of this, the beginner level of this, how far can they make it? Will they need the next offering or the next one or the next one? Or are the offerings too scattered around for that to work? And right now mine are too scattered around. You might want to create a digital product, but that could be all you buy from me because my other offerings are random, And so really changing my offerings to fit into a really good value ladder to serve that person that I just talked about, that is a huge goal. Okay. Second, doing launches again and really working through the evergreen sales side of things. Y'all, I did a website. Gosh, almighty. I don't know where my brain went there. I did a podcast, a few months ago where I was webinars are dead, and they are. But there are other ways to launch things. And I think I used this, my numbers aren't as good in webinars, or my numbers aren't as good in my launches, to validate the, well, I'm just not going to do that. I'm just going to work with brands, or I'm just going to whatever. And instead of like testing it and actually seeing what did work. And I have some like cool things I want to bring to you guys like super soon, because I have found some things that do work. And that's like super fun, but I really want to lean into launches and like evergreening sales of the things. And I want to pause right here because I've mentioned a few times, like working with brands, working with brands. There is absolutely nothing wrong with working with brands. However, the brand becomes your boss, number one. Number two, you could be sitting here waiting on a brand to pay you months after you did the brand collaboration because they're in a different country and they need some kind of random IRS form that they didn't tell you about that no other brand has ever asked for. And the IRS form is taking months and months to get. And you have yet to be paid for your brand deal. And that is really frustrating for me, for brands. Not only that, but I do feel like I have to structure my content around what the brand wants. Like it's what I'd like to do if I'm going to work with a brand is just make it like a commercial break, just like on TV. You know, they didn't work the ad for Dove soap into the episode of Seventh Heaven. Seventh Heaven just stopped and then ran the commercials and then started again. But as a YouTuber, I do think some YouTubers do that really well, but I'm not one of them, even though I want to be. It's like, I feel like I don't do that super well. And so, one, brands kind of make me feel like I'm structuring my content around the brand, which I don't love. And a lot of brands are like super, super specific about what they want in the video, you know, at least in the ad spot, what they want here, what they want there. And then in addition to both of those things, you have the payment side, which can suck. You know, you can get paid really well and then you might go a month without a brand deal and then all the like money for the brand deals that you did do is backed up and there you are, screwed. And so while I'm comparing some things to brand deals, I don't think they're inherently bad or something I'll never do again by any means. They're just not what I want the focus of the business to be, you know? And so doing launches again, really working on the evergreen side of things. That's a big goal of mine. My third point here was not working with brands unless it's the most perfect fit. So I guess I jumped ahead of myself there, but it's definitely a big part of what I'm moving forward with. Again, it's not to say I won't work with brands. I absolutely will. There are some brands that I absolutely love and want to work with, you know, if they come to me. But not having that be a focus of the brand, of my brand, and kind of treating it like I treat YouTube AdSense revenue as like this like really cool extra, you know. And then essentially just getting back to the basics, going back to the 2017, 2018, 2019 version of me and the business and where I was going and teaching the higher level things and not just putting out content and hoping it lands and putting out content and hoping that, you know, even though it's a beginner piece of content, somebody will come down my funnel and not really putting a lot of thought into all of that. I'm breaking it down and like restructuring all of that shit because it needs to be restructured for me to hit the goals I want to hit, but also for me to be able to help y'all, you know, because there's so much misinformation and bullshit out there right now about like selling other people's courses, like the MRRs of the world, right? Like, oh my gosh, y'all, that has made it to my local like MLM huns. I can't. It's like, I just figured out this way to make this much money from home selling digital products. And then what I want to sell you is a digital product that you also sell to people to sell the same digital product, but none of us actually know what the hell we're talking about. It kills me. I posted a whole thread on Threads about why I hate the MRR industry. So if you want to see that, you can follow me on Threads. I think it's just my name at Jessica Stansberry. But, yeah, like Anyway, I see so much information and so many people want to build a business online, but what all we're getting is these flash pan, shiny ideas from TikTok or YouTube of like, I made $10,000 last month with digital products. I made this, and it makes it sound like it's just like super easy. You just do it and then it's done kind of thing. And there's so much strategy behind it. And there's so much that goes into creating a business like this. And there's also so much awesomeness behind it too, right? Like it has been game changing for me. I went from a stay-at-home mom who quit her corporate job to stay home with her kid and just kind of had to pull on the skills she already had to create some type of business because we needed the money. And like from that to making like no money, but enough to like pay for groceries here and there, to someone who is able to employ people full time and like take my kids, like I'm taking one of my kids to like a football camp in Louisiana in a couple weeks and like do these things that I always dreamed of in life. And this type of thing is so magical and so awesome. And I want more people to know about it. And I want more people to know about it the right way, not the like shiny, like false promises way. And in order to do that, I need to teach about it, So, just getting back to the basics and to kind of sum it all up as far as like what's going to happen here. You may not see a big difference, honestly, because the podcast has always been educational content. The YouTube channel has always been educational with some things thrown in when I get to feeling frisky. But behind the scenes, we're going to be really rebuilding that value ladder and like figuring things out there. And I've got, again, I'll talk a bit more about the value ladder side next week in the podcast because I have a whole episode about value ladders planned out and I'm going to share my new one. But planning out offers that make sense and help people and help me get everything kind of back on track, And by the way, one of those offers I already released. So when I had this like epiphany and this like, oh, this is what I want to do. I need to just blow it all up and rebuild it. Bridget, my operations manager, was on vacation. She came back to 1,000 bullet points, 1,000 messages, all the things, because I was like, oh, I had such a breakthrough. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we want to do. Da, da, da. And she loves it. So that's good. But it also obviously changes things for like how we run things or whatever. And one of the things that I really wanted to add to my value ladder was a high level program with me. Something where you can actually get me to help you strategically, like based on what's going on. And so remember though, that I hate having calls on my calendar. But what I had to have a realization around, and I heard this on a couple of podcasts, like I was really like in my like, oh, I've got to figure this out. It's like something feels right here, but also wrong. And so I was like listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, like all the things. And I got some inspiration from somewhere. I don't even remember where now, where someone was like, high level people don't actually want hour-long calls on their calendar. And I'm like, you're right. They don't. And so, instead of creating a coaching program where I have to be on the phone all the time, which is honestly not the most helpful for anybody. What's going to be helpful is like when you're in the weeds, being like, oh my gosh, I'm building this funnel and I don't know what to do here. And can you step in and help me? And me being like, yeah. Like I'm really struggling with this today, and being able to have help when you need it, not just when our scheduled call is, and realizing that most people don't want to sit on a Zoom call for an hour. They want to get to the work, they want somebody to tell them what the strategy should be, and they want to be able to ask questions along the way. And so I developed this new group coaching program mastermind situation. We're calling it Next Level CEO. And essentially, this is a group coaching, like mastermind thing. And it is all run in Slack with voice messages, text messages. It is in a group setting. But with it, you like get me, right? So when people are in there, they can be like, hey, Jessica, grab my phone. Hey, Jessica, I need help with XYZ. And I'm like, okay, here's what I would do. And be able to have help when they need it, but also for us all to be able to do this in the fringe hours of the day because we're all really busy. I can way better help you with a voice message while I'm sitting at a practice for one of my kids than like having to schedule an hour where you have to ask me all your questions, and then 30 minutes later coming up with another one that I can't answer because it's not in our scheduled time. And so this group coaching program, actually, I'm going to go to the sales page and kind of read you some stuff off of it, because I feel like that's going to help you a ton. Actually, well, before I do that, if you want to check it out, this is a 90-day mastermind group setting with other CEOs and creators who are ready to take their business to the next level. So you have real-time support, real-time idea support, real conversations, all the things. You can go to coursesbyjessica.com/apply. So coursesbyjessica.com/apply. And it's going to tell you everything you need to know. So I'm really trying to be in your pocket here. Like, I'm going to strategically help you decide what you want to do next, whether that is, that you want to create a course or a digital product, or build a sales funnel, or launch something, or systematize your business, or create a content pipeline that actually sells, or get clear on your marketing or your messaging. Maybe you want to add sponsorships and brand deals to your business and you need help doing that. Like, anything that kind of encompasses the digital products and courses and content, I can help you with, right? The funnels, the launches, the webinars, all of it. So you can go to coursesbyjessica.com/apply to apply for that. So by the time you hear/see this, we are actually going to open the doors to the first people tomorrow on Thursday, June 20th. We've already had several applications and accepted several people in. And so you can get in whenever you want to get in. I would love to have you in this first, like, kind of group, but you can join whenever you want to. It is a 90-day commitment. You get access to all of my courses and the new ones that I'm coming out with during your 90 days there. And again, it's yours. It's yours to decide what you need help with and get my decade worth of expertise in these areas on your business. And I'm really excited about this. Like, I'm so excited. I've been wanting to do like some kind of coaching for a really long time. But again, the thought of having to have calls on my calendar and that type of thing just killed it for me. And I feel like I've really found a way to be able to do that. And the people who have already applied and have been accepted are so excited too. So a lot of them have been like, yes, I didn't want something where I have a bunch of calls. I want to be able to just ask my question when I have my question and keep moving forward. And I'm like, yes, me too. So coursesbyjessica.com/apply will get you that application. But that's part of my value ladder. So essentially, I'm going to have some things that get people in, kind of in that top level, like they want to create a digital product or whatever. But then once they create it, they also need to realize that they need to sell it and launch it and do the things. And then there might come a time when they need me like hands-on. And that's where this fits in. So yeah, I'm rebuilding it. I'm blowing it up. I'm really excited. And it's one of those things where, again, you probably didn't really see it from the outside. From the inside, it's very visible. Like when we changed some things around this week to fit this idea, we literally went back to where something was a year ago on one of our programs. And it's like, we could have really saved a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of headache not making 82 changes to this because I'm a Fruit Loop. So yeah. That's kind of the end of that. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for you guys to stay tuned and for the content that's coming, because we have such good content planned. And yeah, if you want to work with me kind of in a one-on-one basis in a group setting, go check out the mastermind. And I'll talk to y'all next week.